Expand blades are the newest thing introduced to Beyblade, also known as Infinity Beys by Hasbro, but as always I use the Takatomi names. Rather than getting a fourth system, we seem to be getting upgrades to every other system, a very interesting play, so let's talk about it. So we all kind of got baited, we all thought it was going to be some kind of CX2 system, dividing the main blade. I actually had a whole video planned out where I was going to run back last year's video, because I wasn't too excited about it, but, well, seeing the full picture and that we have this idea coming to every system, well, I scrapped it and now we're here. So first up, I guess we'll go and talk about the CX expand blades. Whole thing with these is that main blades are being split into overblades and metal blades. Metal blades are kind of what main blades were, the contact points, the weight of the blade, all that stuff. Overblades are kind of a weird case. They're kind of an in-between step from a second assist blade and a clear wheel. I don't see these making contact too much with any other bays that aren't CX. And even against CX bays, I'm not sure how much contact they'll actually make, but they exist. Is this customization really worthwhile? I'm gonna say yes and no. I don't necessarily think this makes the bays better, but the overall system structure does allow metal blades to actually have better outward weight distribution, which is probably good, and also just the custom line. And seeing that we have other lines happening at the same time, I guess it's probably fair to really divide this as much as you possibly can. So I think it's fair. Had this been the main system going forward, if this was the only thing to get an upgrade, I wouldn't have liked it. But just as the custom line as is, it's fine. With the system itself, I'm not overly excited for it. To me, it's kind of just more CX stuff. I guess the bays do look a bit better, which is nice, but that's really it. They're just CX bays that look a bit better. I guess maybe have a bit of extra customization as well, but I'm not overly excited. I think it's just fine. On the complete opposite end, UX Expand. UX Expand blades are by far the most different of anything here. This borderline feels like a fourth system with how they are. So basically we now have ratchet integrated blades. Yep, blades and ratchets are fused into one single piece, meaning that these blades are the inverse of CX, only being two parts, the blade and the bit. The reason for this is to make room for more expansive gimmicks, which does seem to be the case. We have Bison Valor Freeball, which is a bait that I was not able to mention in my last video, and apparently this has some kind of roller gimmick. The wheels look decent, but I mean, I don't think roller gimmicks are ever really that great, but it's at least something. Also on Shinobi Shuriken, apparently that's the leaked name from the Takatomi listings anyway, seems to have some kind of free spin gimmick underneath. Aegis Rampart's a bit weird. On a different screenshot, you actually see these little like white pieces underneath. This could have some kind of implications with the bit, maybe it makes everything like a free bit or something, I don't know. Probably has some kind of gimmick, I would assume. And then there's the big one, Bullet Griffin. A lot of people seem to think that this is going to be a Phantom Fox gimmick, myself included. If that's the case, this is insane. But yeah, UX Expand is very, very interesting, but it's kind of conditional for me. We have free spin, we have rollers, that stuff is cool, but I need to see some crazier gimmicks. Again, if Bullet Griffin has the Phantom Fox gimmick, we're all good. I just don't want these to be kind of like UX gimmicks again, because I feel like that doesn't really warrant the shift to ratchets being integrated. It's less customization for really nothing. Now if the gimmicks are worthwhile, it's perfectly fine. Actually, I like this. I think it makes the bays much, much more dynamic, and is worth the cost. It's just that I need to see these gimmicks actually being dynamic. So for this one, we kind of just have to wait and see. I think we'll be fine. I'm not too worried about this, honestly. Plus, some of these other blades might actually just be Hasbro exclusives. Or at least, you know, being released from Hasbro first anyway. Shinobi and Aegis are most certainly that. Not sure about Bison, though. But this is a system that is, again, very conditional for me, but I do have a lot of excitement for it, because I think this could definitely be the thing I've been waiting for Beyblade X. Now we have the BX expanded blades. These are pretty straightforward. It's a slight refresh. Basically, the metal prongs are now kind of going to fuse to make this ring around the gear chip. So basically more metal, I guess also more central weight distribution, which is fine. I'm not overly excited about this sort of refresh here. It doesn't really feel overly impactful for me personally, but it's good at least got something. And I do think BX is in a bit of a better spot now as well. So the only bay we saw before was Drawn Strike, but recently we also got another bay that unfortunately I could not cover, as it was revealed after, that being Ring Aether, or based on the Takatomi listings, Heaven's Ring. This might just straight up be the July Random Booster Prize Bay. It does have a Disc Spike, a new bit, though this could be a different bit from a release in maybe like April or June or something that we just don't know about yet. Also 080, that's cool. And this blade does look great. It's just that functionally I don't think it's overly interesting. However, BX is in a better spot. Here's why. So before, my problem is that, well, CX main blades were kind of just doing what BX blades were already doing, but with more customization. Now though, CX metal blades are a lot thinner. they have to work under different constraints and will feel different than previous blades, meaning that, well, I feel like there might be a bit less overlap with BX here, as these blades will feel much different. Because again, the Metal Center, they're working under new constraints. I think there will be at least somewhat of a shift there. UX is also similar, because some UX bays had gimmicks but others didn't. A standard UX bay is just structurally better than a standard BX bay, but now UX is vastly different. So BX kind of just has its own spot now as the basic line, as it should be. If BX disappeared tomorrow, would I be upset about it? Not really. But do I think it at least warrants existing now? I think so. So it is definitely an improvement in that sense, because, well, the other lines shifted enough to where this actually feels like it's kind of the more grounded line, which makes sense. So BX getting better isn't really caused by the BX Expand Blade stuff, more so the other Expand Blade stuff, which is weird, but I guess it works. We can also take a look at the leaked listings here. I created this like really poorly made graphic here just to show everything we kind of have right now, combining that with the leaked listings. And it is interesting. Initially, I wasn't happy with this because I felt like UX was just carrying the line. It probably shouldn't. Why make, a new CX system if we're just going to do this? But again, now that we have all the context, every line is getting upgraded. It kind of makes sense because now we have UX Expand kind of almost being the anchor here, which I think is good. With still getting, some BX and CX stuff. Almost the same frequency, it's just that, UX seems to be getting the larger scale releases, like the July starter. I am curious what else we'll get here, but I think the leaked listings are at least fine now. It makes sense. Again, UX will probably have a larger role because, well, they can actually be more dynamic, and BX just happens when it happens. CX, I do wonder about these. They're in mostly just random products here after the first wave, so maybe we'll get like extra lock chips or overblades or something that we wouldn't otherwise get. I'm not sure. If not, well, there's more CX base coming, I guess. I also think this whole Expand Blade thing is a functional replacement for a fourth line. Because yeah, we aren't getting a full-on fourth line, but upgrading every single line that exists, making them somewhat new feeling, and the fact that UX almost just does feel like a fourth line on its own, yeah, this helps. So I think we definitely can survive another year here with these three lines, since they're not really the same as they've been. Though I do wonder how they're going to expand on this over time. I don't imagine they keep the Expand Blade stuff for multiple years without any upgrades, so are we just going to kind of get new expansions to each line over time? That'd be interesting. I'm not really sure how you do that though, because can CX be divided further? Can you actually make UX structurally more insane? What else really is there for BX? It's possible. I do think that you need a fourth line or some kind of soft reboot eventually. So I am still wondering how they're going to pull it off, because the whole Expand Blade thing almost just feels like this is the end. And after this, it'll be like the end of the generation or a full-on like soft reboot. Not saying that'll happen, it just gives me that vibe because like these ways are getting, structurally a little bit harder to work with, I think, for the future. I'm not saying this is like an immediate issue, obviously, like we're just getting them now, but I am curious about it. I think there's also something about the anime hitting like a climax or something, talking about like the climax of season 3 with context of the first 2 seasons, so maybe it will be a soft reboot, I don't know. Overall, though, I do feel like I have cautious optimism here. There's new stuff happening. Again, UX Expand, it does feel like it could be very interesting. Need to see what some of these gimmicks actually are, because again, Bison and the 2 set base could just be like Hasbro first releases, meaning that getting like anything at all in these is actually pretty good, and maybe like the proper Takatomi stuff will be absolutely insane. Again, we might have like a Phantom box set here, that'd be wild. But we need to see more on that. But for now, I think this was probably a solid idea if you're not going to do a fourth line. Definitely better than just doing like a CX2 or something, or just leaving these 3 lines alone. I think this is a solid move. And yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on the whole Expand Blade stuff. It's a weird line, or lines, I guess. We've never really seen anything like this, so I guess now we're just going to see how it plays out. But I think that's all I have to say, so anyways, thanks for watching, and bye-bye.